did do right.
So basically what you're saying is that this DC movies went from terrible to passable, maybe.
No, I would classify Wonder Woman as a bad movie.
So it went from terrible to bad? I still feel like having the character interactions and charismatic lead
and
improve things.
I also wouldn't say that they went from terrible. The DC movies went from terrible to bad. I would say that Wonder Woman was slightly better than the rest of the DC movies. But I have no evidence to this date, including the terrible reviews for Justice League, which I have no intention of seeing, that pattern carries over towards anything else they do.
So basically what you're saying is that's entirely the lead, and they haven't learned any lessons.
Oh, absolutely not. Because you can see the changes they made. They left the same director on the project.
What? No, they changed the director. Zack didn't direct it. I can't remember who directed it.
No, they left the same director that directed Wonder Woman on the project.
On Justice League?
No, on Wonder Woman. She's directing Wonder Woman 2.
Oh, right. I'm not surprised, though, because Wonder Woman did really well. I mean, that makes sense business-wise.
But no, but that's fine, and that's good, and that's the change you make. The problem was that she just didn't. I don't think the director is the problem. I think you can tell that she is a good director and she was getting charismatic performances out of her actors because the character interaction was a strong point.
The writing was the problem.
Were a strong point. But as with every DC movie, the fact that they feel compelled to tie it all together into a DC-connected universe and follow these plot points that were sketched up by a marketing team,
right?
Just it doesn't work.
Yeah,
and
no,
if you look at the way, and DC is lucky enough to have a template set out for them by Marvel, who literally did exactly the same thing they're attempting to do, to great success. And if you look by the time that Marvel was attempting to do their first ensemble piece, they had set up every single one of their characters in their own movie with room to breathe, completely unconnected to the main storyline, aside from throwaway tidbits and lines.
Well, that was like post-credits, and that was... The post-credit stuff happened from the beginning. The only time it even started to be connected outside of the Avengers was after the Avengers... No, not after the Avengers. There was one before...
But they had, like, tidbit lines, but none of the main characters were in the same movie prior
Phase 1,
to the Avengers.
No, not...
Because if you want to tell a story about a character...
You tell a story about the character.
Give them room to breathe. You need to tell the story about the character. Whereas... if you look at Wonder Woman, it was a story about Wonder Woman and whoever the Chris Evans... No, not Chris Evans. I don't know.
Chris
Fluffy blonde man.
Chris Pine.
Yeah, his character, right?
Yeah.
He had as much character development and a character arc as Wonder Woman.
Arguably, he had more of a character arc. I mean...
I would say
he had a character arc. He developed. He went from being selfish and totally self-interested and barely even surviving the time on the island because he was able to rein himself in just long enough to sacrificing himself to save London.
I would say that he was the main character because he had a beginning, he had a middle, and he had an end point in his personal character, whereas Wonder Woman reevaluated a policy decision. That was her entire arc, that movie, was she was like, maybe people are bad. Nah, maybe they're good. Nah, they're bad. Nah, they're good. You know, that was
they're okay.
They're
people. I guess people are people. I guess morality is a bit more complicated than black and white, despite what the writers of this movie seem to think.
Yeah, but also the majority of the time was spent on a character that we will never see again. If you look at Batman versus Superman, I learned nothing about Batman in that clusterfuck of a movie because we had 4 or 5 villains, count them, 3 heroes, 2 of which only showed up in the second act, and then in the first act... Yeah, and then in the first act, Superman didn't do anything character developing interesting. I would say Man of Steel is still the strongest DC effort, because it developed a character over the course of a movie, and it didn't do a very good job of it, and it was clumsy, but it had a storyline it was trying to tell, and I think that's a step up over any other of the DC characters. And now we're going into this Justice League movie, and we have 3 new characters. I'm counting Batman there. Batman, The Flash and Aquaman. who haven't had their own solo movies, who haven't had a setup and a development.
Unless they go with the Flash TV show character.
No, it's not the same character.
Well, then, yeah, there's nothing.
So these characters are going to need to be set up at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested, because it's going to be the same thing where there's too many characters. There's probably going to be like 3 villains. Superman's going to show up in the last act out of nowhere and be all like, yo, I'm here to save the day because we needed Superman to come in for a cinematic moment that will look great and mean nothing.
Yeah, I think the problem there is that DC's trying to write an ensemble piece, but with characters that are supposed to be really fleshed out characters that people know kind of, or know enough to know that these should be really interesting characters.
They don't act like the characters that I know.
That's the other problem,
If you just went, everyone knows how Batman acts, then sure, I'd believe that. But this Batman is this weird, angry man who just casually kills people.
No, it's the Punisher.
He's more like Jason Bourne than Batman.
Yeah, or that.
Yeah.
Either way. Actually, Jason Bourne's probably better, because Batman is still kind of detective-y and a bit more subtle. But the point is, not Batman. Or at least not what we've associated with Batman recently. Like, not since the 70s or 80s.
But they did do a separate take. They did do a second take on Batman fairly recently, right? They had the Christopher Nolan Batman movies.
Yes, which was pretty much definitive.
Weird. But they were weird, and they were not really exactly the same character, or not really the same character as the Batman from the comic books.
Well, no, but it was a character.
But in order to define that character, they set him up, they set where he started from, they set where he was going to, they set his goals, they set his visions, they built a character. They have not done that yet, and I have no faith that they will do that.
I mean, unless they're going to die.
I have no faith. Well, Superman kind of has the same problem. I've seen Superman did have 2 solo movies.
4 solo movies.
And no, Superman had 2 solo movies in the current DC universe.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought you meant as a whole. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And through those 2, I don't care at all about his character. I don't know what his motivations are. He's not a human being, and it's not the actor's fault. He's a great cast. If you saw the man from U.N.C.L.E., he played a very funny, very charismatic character in that. He's not a wooden actor.
He's just not well directed.
Horribly written.
And direction's probably not that great either.
I think an actor as good as Henry Cavill can do a lot with good writing. I think an actor as good as Ben Affleck can do a lot with good writing.
Yeah.
Even if the directing's terrible. But
well, that's true, because I mean, unless the directing is outright telling them play wooden and really screwing with their initial choices, then they'll be fine, because they'll be making good choices.
Zebok, I quite liked Blade Runner. I thought it was a very, very good... I thought it was a very, very good movie. Did you see Blade Runner?
The recent one? No.
It was very good. It kept to the tone of the original. It was visually stunning. The audio was incredible. And it kept kind of the moral ambiguity of the original. And a lot of people, I think, didn't like that because it left open loops. It didn't close storylines. And it was plotting and deliberate and depressing in times.
Well, I thought the entire point of it was kind of a tone piece and morality piece. Like, it wasn't so much meant to be a matter of story as a matter of presenting a world kind of like our own, but 20 minutes into the future, and examining how that works. And also kind of following up from the original movie.
It took the time to very carefully establish the characters, and then it didn't feel the need to spell everything out, and it let you kind of think over. I guess that's what that means. And
which
it
seems
did
pretty
that
appropriate.
Incredibly well. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I loved the attention to audio in it. And the original Blade Runner also fell under this category as well, where I love things with great audio. And just every time somebody shoots a gun in the Blade Runner universe, it sounds so good. And the music was incredible. I don't know. I loved the Blade Runner. I don't know about the Krypton show. If they're making another DC Universe TV show. Gotham's pretty good. It's an okay TV show that's currently on.
Maybe they'll do the same thing with Krypton as they did with Gotham, where it's like it's on Krypton, but it's like 20 years prior to its destruction, and it's going through political intrigue among the ruling classes or something.
Gotham is literally Smallville, but Gotham.
Right.
That's what it is. It's... It hints in the name, I suppose.
Yeah, but I think like maybe Krypton's just like Jor-El versus Zod and the politics and intrigue about that.
Google it. Krypton TV show. Krypton TV movie. Krypton is an upcoming TV series developed for Sci-Fi. The series takes place on the titular planet approximately 200 years before the birth of Kal-El and the eventual destruction of the planet. Krypton will be released in 2018. Weird.
So it sounds like I was roughly right.
Yeah. No, I mean, you were saying that, and I was like, there's no way that happens.
Well, you were pointing out the way that Gotham played out, where it was essentially Batman pre-Batman. It seemed to make sense to me that they'd be going that direction with everything else, if Gotham's doing well.
All right. I mean, that's... You can do whatever you want with it, right? There's a lot of room to just screw around there, and that's why Gotham works. Because they're able to reinterpret it and make it a noir mystery, detective procedural, or whatever they need it to be that episode.
Right.
If they reinterpret it well, it could be a cool sci-fi show, I guess. The sci-fi I'm currently really enjoying is the Orval, which is Seth MacFarlane's parody / tribute to Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
And it does a really good job of being Star Trek: The Next Generation and still managing to laugh at itself. I am very much enjoying it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's on my list of things to at some point watch.
If you like Star Trek, you'll like the Orval. It's...
No, I've seen, like, you showed me the trailer, and even from the trailer I thought, yeah, this looks good. And the trailer was kind of weak, and even that looked good.
Well, they do a really... It's really entertaining. Maybe this is just me, because you know that I'm intentionally shitty at times, right?
Yes, fairly often. Actually, kind of, you were very much not that tonight, which is actually a bit of a surprise.
But I'll do things badly because I think it's funnier.
Yep.
Right. It does the same thing.
Okay.
It does, like, there's a scene in the first episode where one of the characters who's super strong jumps behind a group of enemies, and instead of doing it with the CG that they have, they do it with like 5 cuts at an awkwardly placed angle.
So they do it Star Trek style.
Yeah, it's like the weirdest looking jump in the universe that cuts 80 times, and it's an obvious little joke about the fact that that's how they would have done it if a character had jumped super high in Star Trek. So it's good that way.
Okay, that's good. I mean, you already mentioned that they pretty much were faithful to what they were parodying, and it was very affectionate as a parody.
Oh yes, I mean, there's laughing at and there's laughing with, and I feel like the Orville is laughing with us, and it's also definitely a tribute. It's definitely, because it does hit the same notes where it has episodes that do just explore moral issues. Right? There's an episode fairly early on, I'll spoil the premise for you, where it's like one of the alien crew members has a daughter, and his race is all males, so they go in for a gender correction procedure. And there's a moral dilemma as the crew tries to decide whether or not that's morally all right.
Yeah, I think I heard about that one, actually. It blew up a bit.
And that's a Star Trek premise, right?
Yeah. And it's updated for our modern problems, or modern social intolerances, and trying to deal with that stuff. It's like, hey, this is why this intolerance is bad. Don't do that.
The way they convince the alien dad that there might be more than one view of the issue is by showing him the cartoon of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And he realizes that sometimes your differences can be to the group's advantage. Right?
Right.
Oh, there's a scene of the giant Klingon allegory. You know, sitting there crying while watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And it's hilarious.
Oh.
And it also manages to be poignant and try and have a conversation about a very Star Trek style premise.
Right. Well, anyway, I think this is a good place to stop our little video and television podcast. It has come out of our Battlerite stream. So thanks again for watching, everyone.
Television.
And until next time, have a good night.